In June the 5th of 2013, indie developer Undead Labs showed us how a true immersive zombie game can be created to such a level of success without the need for huge multiplayer PvP environments, without the need for a publisher breathing down their neck, and most importantly, without a lack of core gameplay. But today, the 22nd of May in 2018, the sequel to said game graces our shelves and our download folders with the same concept, revised and improved, with the addition of drop-in and drop-out co-op in mind, but allowing the game to be played solo if it must. The game I am talking about is State of Decay 2. Story, core gameplay, and content. If you're looking for Telltale's The Walking Dead or The Last of Us levels of storytelling in this game, trust me, you're not going to find that here. That's not where this game shines. Where this game shines, however, is in the gameplay. You start off by picking 2 survivors from 4 slots. In other words, pick the couple, the all-female couple, the besties, or the siblings. Each of these 8 characters you choose from have certain traits, like wits or cardio for example. Each of these traits have benefits. These light RPG elements make you almost grow attached to these characters you've developed. The character you saw at the start became the leader in my first playthrough, became a warlord, wanted to build an armory, became a sort of hybrid between Glenn and Rick from The Walking Dead. The other 2 characters I treasured were the soldier you get from the tutorial mission, that looks and sounds like a combination of Will Smith and Samuel L. Jackson, and the other character being a woman that I came across. She was a combination of Sasha from The Walking Dead and Lieutenant Roberta Warren from Z Nation. Once you play through the game using certain characters, you start to realise how much there is to do. There's so much freedom here, and you're not on rails, you can do literally whatever you want. The maps, there's 3 of them. And bear in mind, I've been playing non-stop for the past 4 days since the game came out for the Ultimate Edition on the 18th. I've only now just explored one of the maps. I checked the other maps out on separate games for reference, but my lord, there's so much content here. Especially for a game going at half the price of most games. The core mechanics are based on you upgrading your characters and making them better. You can also do this with your base. You can build more beds for more people. You can build generators, kitchens, etc. It's like The Sims. You just don't see this kind of player agency in most modern titles, now do you? The game is a little repetitive, don't get me wrong. The AI is dumb as fuck, zombies and friendlies alike. I did lose one of my starting characters from enemy AI, however. That same guy was also the guy that contracted the blood plague in the tutorial. Speaking of the blood plague, there's various types of zombies in the game. Normal ones don't really infect you. The plague zombies, however, are a game changer. They were not in the original game. In layman's terms, if they're red, put 2 in the head, because if you get hit enough times by them, you will contract the blood plague. Spoiler alert, there is a cure, but you have to craft it. Next, there's the bloater. He explodes in some sort of toxic gas. It's like the boomer and the spitter from Left 4 Dead 2. If you're in a car and you run into one of those things, God help you, jump out the car. The next one is the screamer. They just scream to attract zombies. They're basically mobile security cameras that you should prioritize in killing. Next is the feral. I used to be terrified of these things in the original game, but a well-placed headshot will take them out in this game, which wasn't the case in the old one as far as I remember. They are fast as fuck, but they are unable to dodge like in the original game. You can run them over pretty easily, but I'll tell you this now, there is worse than the feral. Yep, there's the Juggernaut. Unless you have ammo or a lot of followers, which you can't really exceed past 1 unless you're on a story mission, stay away from the Juggernauts. They are 10 times the size of you. If you saw the 4K trailer for the game, you should understand what they can do. They will tear you in half, or your friends, and your car. Overall, the lack of enjoyable story is kind of noticeable, but the ability to basically create your own story, if you can immerse yourself enough into this game, it does satisfy me, I'll be honest. It's down to personal preference, it may not satisfy you, but this is how the game is meant to be played. The game ain't solid, but it's definitely strong. I'll give it a 2.5 out of 3. Sound and vocals.
Okay, your lead.
Now, when it comes to sound, I was really surprised of how well done the sound was done in this game. Compared to the first game where everything sounded kind of false and fake and unrealistic, it is very immersive in this game. The shotguns have weight to it, the explosions have that bass you'd expect, the SMGs have that piercing sound you expect from lower caliber weapons. It all just fits in really well together. The voice acting is another story. While the voices are not bad, how they are coded into the game is where it fails.
More fuel won't help us now. The way that blood plague is progressing, your friend won't last long without a place to rest.
I vote we listen to the doctor.
We have to find a place to settle down. Now.
Ugh. The dialogue is kind of terrible, to be honest. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it's not good. I see what they're going for, but it could be so much more better. Especially in the kind of cutscenes like the one I just showed you. It sounds off, it doesn't go well, you feel de-immersed, if that's even a word. Well, it's a word now, isn't it? It really doesn't go well, and it kind of brings me up the game when I hear some of this dialogue. I would have originally given this 2, but because of how clunky the dialogue is, I'm afraid it has to get 1.5. Musical score. Now, I've got to say, this is one of the game's strong points. The composer, Jesper Kyd, one of my favourite composers in the world, crafted this masterpiece. This is the guy who composed the soundtrack for the first Assassin's Creed through to Revelation. He did the score to other games like the Hitman series, etc. This guy knows what he's doing. The way he combines pads with acoustic instruments to sound almost ghost-like, but resembling that kind of rural American feel. It goes perfectly with the game. It does make up for the crappy dialogue in this game, to be honest. Jesper Kyd definitely knows how to use reverbs well with his music. The synths he uses are just perfect for this genre. The live instruments, or what seems to be live instruments, are well recorded and sound clear. It can be repetitive a little bit. You might hear some of the same tracks over and over again, but they're so well crafted, I can forgive that. The game gets 3 for the musical score. Graphics and art style. Now, this is not one of the game's strong points either. The game's engine is now Unreal, which is a big change from its original engine. I can't remember the name of it. But the Unreal Engine does make up for the crappy graphics of the past. It's not amazing, however. The characters do look slightly cartoony. The way the zombies' eyes shine is a bit ugh, but I can deal with it. It's not bad, but it's not great either. The game's art style is pretty decent. It beats Telltale's The Walking Dead, and it's nowhere near as good as the AAA games that this game contends with. The graphics are about 5 years behind, but I can deal with that, as I said before. This game is not about the graphics, it's about the core gameplay. This gets a 1.5 out of 3 rating. I'll let you know now, the game's graphics is not perfect. Frame rate drops will happen, tearing will happen, and bear in mind I'm using a 1070 with an i7 and 16GB of RAM, but hey, no game's perfect. Now, it's time for controls. The game's controls are pretty decent. There's a lot of pressing one button and pressing another one to do a certain animation, to do certain things, etc. It's all well implemented. I've got to give them props. They knew what they were doing when they did this. The camera's a bit annoying as well, but I can live with that. It's a third-person game after all. The shooting in the game has been improved a lot. I've been waiting for this. The game gets 2.5 for controls. Cinematics. It's shit. 0.5. Immersion and enjoyment. I'll be honest with you, I've lost my mind in this game sometimes. Like, you get really into it. You're trying not to make your characters die, but at the same time you're loving the gameplay. It keeps you wanting to come back. Every time I'd leave to go out for a drink or to meet up with friends, I couldn't wait to get back home just to immerse myself in this universe. It's well crafted, it's in depth. There are other characters for you to interact with, and you had to look after your own. It feels like The Sims meets zombies. I love it. Every time you leave, you have to be careful about what you do. You could decide to go on a scavenger run by yourself and think, let me not bring that gun, let me not bring my AK-47, I'll just go in with a pistol with about 10 rounds, and then you run into a feral and it's all over. Somehow I survived these situations, but I have lost a few characters from situations like that, and the juggernauts are not fun to deal with. My advice to you would be is if you see one, run. Do not stand and fight. As I said earlier, they will tear you in half. You do not want to lose your character you spend hours, sometimes days working on. It pains you. That's the good thing about this game. It gives you a sense of fear. If you lose a character, they're gone for good. That's what permadeath is. And I love that. I love the risk. It's high risk, high reward. You could go into our house, loot it, you could find yourself an M4 with a scope on it and a shit ton of 5.56 rounds. But you could also get eaten by a group of zombies. It keeps you entertained and it keeps you worrying. That's how you're meant to feel in a zombie survival game. And this game does it perfectly. Every choice you make affects the gameplay. If you decide to build a kitchen and not build an infirmary, you're going to piss off a lot of people if there's someone infected. If you're building kitchens and infirmaries and all the other things and forgetting to build beds, you're going to have a lot of tired people in your settlement. Speaking of settlement, I feel like Preston Garvey from Fallout 4's infiltrated this game because every single person in the game needs your help. And it pisses me off sometimes, but I can live with it. It's not as in your face as Preston is. The game gets a 3 for immersion and enjoyment. I won't spend too much time on this one, but the microtransaction systems are non-existent in this game, and I'm very happy to see that. It gets a 3 out of 3 for that very reason, because I hate microtransactions. They do not belong in our games, and I'd even accept it in this game because it's not full priced. But as you can see, Undead Labs is not greedy. Good on them. Bugs and glitches. There are a lot of bugs and glitches in this game. It does mess up the game, however, Undead Labs understands that their game is not perfect, and they've even added in a button on the radio that allows you to get unstuck, which I really do commend them from. Most games would not add in that functionality because they're too arrogant to do that. Undead Labs says, we know our game's not perfect, here's a button to help you until we patched up the bugs. Enjoy! I have encountered other bugs like followers becoming invisible or followers just running away, but otherwise I can put up with it. It's day one, I can forgive it. I'm hoping they patch all these bugs soon because the game has a lot of potential. The game has 1.5 out of 3 for bugs and glitches. Replay value. State of Decay 1 came out in 2013. The last time I played that game was in March of 2018. Now, let that sink in. I have been playing that game non-stop for 5 years now, guaranteed. I did mod it last year, but still, that was 4 years of me playing this game. Not necessarily non-stop, but I could come back to this game and still enjoy myself. So God knows how much I'll be coming back to this game, when it has triple the maps and a lot more features to it. It looks better, it sounds better, and it feels better. On the 21st of May, I got Hunter Gaming, a good friend of mine, to jump on the game with me, and we tried out the co-op. Now, as I've already said, there were bugs. It was not consistent in how it synced up, and there were a lot of glitches like the one you're seeing right now. But overall, it was a great experience. The way they do the searching is that there's the objects you can search, but it adds in the objects that they can search too. It's an interesting way to handle it, but regardless, the fact that I can play with someone is fine. I'm sure they will fix all the issues in due time. The game gets 3 out of 3 for replay value. Overall rating. Now this is where I take the 10 categories and I add them together to get the final verdict. This will be split into 3 different groups of 10. The first 10 being below average, ones you shouldn't really be paying attention to. The middle 10 being ones that you should consider after a sale or prices are dropped. And the upper 10 are the ones you should consider if the game is your cup of tea. This game is considerably good and is one you should consider. The game is a bit buggy, but the core gameplay and the replay value makes up for it entirely. This game gets a staggering rating of 22 out of 30. I recommend that you get this game even if it's not through Steam, it's still good. The system that Microsoft and Xbox uses is a bit flimsy. However, it does not affect the game at all. If you want to add some maths towards it, you can divide it to 7.3. A very good rating, very above average, and has some promise towards it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna go and play some more State of Decay. More reviews and videos will be coming shortly. If this entices you, follow me on Twitter, Insta, Minds, and Twitch. Hit subscribe. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the apocalypse. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hindsight.